So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is... wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host Phil Barrera, aka Phil the Filipino.
And I'm your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty. And on this annual episode of Foresight and Predictions, we brought on a familiar guest to take a quick moment to look back at the previous year before we spend most of this time discussing what we're really excited for in 2025.
Yeah, Eric, I was looking back at this episode last year, and I realized it didn't come out until the end of January, so we're getting like a much better jump on it than we did last year. I think that was probably because of the convention schedule, but this year we were like, all right, let's make sure this is the very first episode that releases in 2025, and here it is, January 1st. We are back to it, and yeah, excited to jump into us here as we complete the holy quadrant of the OG SBP guest here, and Jay was a little upset that he ended up being the fourth person to join us for this episode, which was not intentional. That's just how it happened. But I think Jay is totally over it and not upset about it whatsoever. Correct, Jay?
Yeah, no, I really don't know why you would think that. I've never held a grudge in my life against anybody in the Super Bracket Bros cinematic universe for any sort of petty reason before, so I really think this episode's going to go super smoothly, and I'm not going to get angry at anybody, especially not Eric, because I was told to blame Eric when we connected about this, Phil, so, yeah, so suck it, Eric.
Oh man, we're off to a really rough start here. I do not like this.
Well, you know, I didn't like being invited last, Eric, so, you know, thanks a lot.
We have been doing this. This is what, our fifth or sixth one of these, I think, Eric, and
Like, yeah, fourth or fifth, yeah.
Yeah, and once again, Jay we were like, oh, we should probably have Jay on one of these and see what he's looking forward to when it comes to 2025.
Well,
yeah.
since I am going to tank this episode, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I am going to shame every single one of your picks. That's the only reason I'm here. I'm looking forward to absolutely nothing. So, surprise.
This is going to be punishment for the holiday special. I could feel it.
No. I can't imagine why you would possibly think that. I just felt like I was on blast for 3 hours straight by 8 different podcasters. So I can't imagine why, this is the first thing I've recorded since then. I can't imagine why I would, hold
why I would
any
take the first opportunity
that
I possibly could to maybe lash out and
yeah, no, I mean, I was the fourth host after my co-host invited onto this episode. You made the holiday special Living Hell for me. Without the wheel even, which is honestly an accomplishment, from the two of you. So I applaud you for that. But yeah, I am going to tank this episode. I am going to drag it down into the pit of hell with me. So congratulations. I hope you're looking forward to the next 4 hours of your life.
How long? How many things do you have? Wait, how is this 4 hours if you don't have anything on your list?
I have prepared arguments against every piece of media that's going to come out next year. So no matter what you say, I have a 3-page essay to go over why I'm not looking forward to it. So, yeah. Well,
we appreciate you coming prepared. So that at least, if anything,
it's the least I could do, fellas. I love the Wait For It podcast so much.
Well, we have quite a bit to talk about here for the Foresight episode. If you've never listened to one of these in the past, as Eric mentioned, we take time to talk about all the things we're looking forward to, and I'm sure none of these opinions will come back and haunt us in terms of any hot takes or predictions that may come our way, because that's definitely never happened in the past. So if you're looking to find all the rest of our content, either it be the past content or keeping up with us going through 2025, as well as finding everywhere, as well as catching up on Super Bracket Bros, that Jay Davis is the wonderful host of. You can find everything in the show notes of this episode. But Eric, I think if there's nothing else to cover, we can just kind of jump right into this. I know we don't like to spend too much time covering like the previous year, just because we have so much to cover in 2025. Is there anything you wanted to like shout out in terms of either disappointment or something that surpassed your expectation in 2024?
Yeah, no, definitely a couple of things here. By this point, our end of the year awards will have passed, and there's a lot, honestly, just kind of looking at the landscape of movies, gaming, shows. I mean, obviously, Arcane Season 2. So many wonderful television shows, a lot of great anime this past year, and your Solo Leveling, your Kaiju number 8, and beyond. And of course, in movies, I mean, we kicked off the year with Dune Part 2, which still stayed at the top, but then we got closer to the end of the year, and there were some surprises for me. Films like Conclave and Wicked that I really, really enjoyed. So I would just really recommend, if you want a little bit more of a preview, or I should say a reminiscence of 2024, check out our end of year awards. And I'm sure we spent a lot of time talking about Game of the Year Astrobot as well. Maybe the biggest surprise to some, but for me, just another day in paradise. So Phil, that was mine. Why don't we pass it off to Jay? Jay, anything from 2024 that you want to shout out, reminisce about, or think fondly of?
Well, I'll just say Astrobot, it was a fine game. I haven't played it personally, don't have any particular feelings about it, not based off of the Fantasy Critic League that we did together over on Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers, or anything like that. Not necessarily that would have saved me. I had a pretty terrible year overall, but anyways, moving on. 2024... I mean, Doom Part 2 is up there for me as well. Probably going to end up being my favorite movie of the year when I start to recollect, at least new movie. Sorry, Red One, you're not moving the meter on me there. I would say a surprise hit for me, which is certainly my game of the year because, one of the only games that I spent a significant amount of time playing is Balatro. The poker roguelike game that was nominated for Game of the Year and is now making waves as Local Thunk, the developer of the game, is sort of publicly speaking against the rating systems that various countries use and trying to basically shut down the game for being a gambling game, but at the same time also not shutting down games where you can spend actual money and gamble, but you can't spend actual money in Balatro except when you buy the game, which you can buy for very cheap, by the way. 2024, there's a lot of good TV though. Right now we're in the middle of Shrinking Season 2, which I think is going to be one of my highlights for the year. Obviously Arcane Season 2. A lot of Season 2s are great, and a lot of Season 2s I'm looking forward to in 2025 as well, actually.
Yeah, there were definitely some surprises as well for me in terms of the movie front. Like you've mentioned, Eric, Conclave was certainly not something that I even really knew much about heading into the 2024 film season. The ones that really surprised me, obviously, it's What's Inside. We've talked about that on our Discord channel, as well as you've covered it on TikTok. Some other movies that really caught me by surprise: Dee Dee, which is a coming-of-age story about an immigrant family. Really, really good. His three daughters, which is on Netflix. And then some movies that kind of some other films that kind of came out of nowhere that I didn't expect to see that were very, very good. Turtles All the Way Down. You've heard me talk about that as well. With Isabella Merced. Really, really enjoyed that one. TV shows, the Fallout show being good was a breath of fresh air. It was kind of like a, oh, thank goodness moment. That was really, really good. Like you said, Shrinking Season 2 has been fantastic, especially with bringing back some characters from Jason Segel's past, or some actors, I should say, actors and actresses from his past has been great. And in terms of the video game front, I am still, even though I'm incredibly frustrated with it, College Football 25 has taken over my life in terms of hundreds of hours being placed into that. And, Marvel Rivals to close out the year has been a lot of fun as well. But 2025, Eric, is proving to be pretty stacked. I remember when we were going through the Fantasy Critic draft last year when we were doing it, we were like, man, it seems like kind of a quiet year, and then always stuff pops up that maybe people weren't necessarily expecting. I was listening to the Game of the Year awards episode from Friendly Neighborhood Gamers last night, and they made a good point. Like, when they give out that Game of the Year award, like, how do you truly compare these games, like, with Astrobot being like a throwback action adventure, Super Mario or Mario 64 type of game, and then Balatro being this card game, and Shadow of the Erdtree, and all, like, how do you really make that decision? So I think maybe we'll have a little bit more of a traditional, like, final five or whatever the case may be when it comes to the Game of the Year for 2025 with some of these releases, if they end up hitting their mark. But with that being said, Eric, I mean, we can just go ahead and jump into what we're looking forward to, and we're going to go in the order of TV shows, films, video games, and then other, in terms of just like whatever it is in 2025 that we're possibly looking forward to. So I do want to throw it to our guest first here. Jay, I'm curious to see what shows you have circled for 2025. Obviously, the three of us are always incredibly busy, so getting to sit down and commit time to a TV show means that we are truly, truly invested. So what have you circled in terms of, all right, I'm going to spend multiple hours of my time over the next few months whenever these shows come out and really watch them?
Yeah, you bet. So TV-wise, I leading into the season 2s, one Apple TV product and then one HBO product. Severance season 2 is the closest on my calendar. I think that's set for January, right? I'm really looking forward to seeing what they end up doing with that show. The first season was fantastic in so many different ways, so many different haunting ways, that I tentatively say I'm looking forward to diving back into that world, but it's a little spooky, and not like in the traditional sense, just like in the nihilistic, dreadful, the world's meaningless kind of way, So looking forward to it. But then of course we have HBO's The Last of Us is returning. Obviously, there's so much discourse around the second game of this series. It feels kind of strange having season 2. I mean, it's been a year. It's been 2 years now since we had the first season, and there was this 5-6 year gap between the first and the second game, and so it almost feels too soon. It feels like I haven't fully recovered from season 1 yet to be able to dive back into this world. But I'm deeply looking forward to it, and certainly I think if they stick the landing, that it's certainly a candidate to be one of the best shows of the year, if not the best show of the year. But then moving on to the Marvel side of things, I mean, just in general, my Marvel interest has decreased greatly over the last few years, as I'm sure many people agree. The one thing that catches my eye is the Daredevil reboot coming back onto Disney Plus. I'm really just curious to see what they're gonna do. I mean, are they going to Disney Plusify it, or are they gonna let Daredevil be Daredevil? So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that TV show as well. But yeah, those are my big three when I was looking at the slate for 2025.
To go in reverse order, the one thing I am concerned about, and Eric, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this, is they've reduced the episode count from 18 to 9, which was a thing that, has been a very big criticism of all the Disney Plus shows, is that there's just not enough time. Not enough time to tell the story that they want to tell, introduce the characters they want to introduce. So not really, or definitely concerned about that. I want to ask you, Jay, in terms of The Last of Us Part 2, what do you think about the casting of Caitlin Dever? Are you familiar with any of her work prior to her portrayal of Abby, and let's just say it right now, we don't have no spoilers here, but please protect this girl from what is coming from the TV-only fan base.
Yeah, I'm slightly familiar with Caitlin Dever. I think the most notable movie that I know her from is Booksmart, which was a great movie that came out, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. But I don't know much about her besides this casting and the same prayers that you uttered that everyone else that has played the game is now uttering for her. I think that ended up being null and void. Ellie's casting was fantastic, and so I'm choosing to trust from here on out. Whatever they choose to do, whoever they choose to cast to do whatever role, I have complete faith.
Yeah, Eric, I think unfortunately the only thing you know Caitlin Dever from is Dear Evan Hansen. I don't believe you've ever seen Booksmart, which was my film of the year, I believe, looking back at 2019. That was my favorite movie of that time. She got really good reviews for No One Will Save You, which was a straight-to-Hulu film. I never saw it myself, but it got pretty good reviews back in 2023. But definitely a big fan of hers. And then just to kind of go back to Severance Season 2, I finally got Eric to watch an Apple TV show in 2024, and he started with Severance, which I knew would be right up his alley in terms of storytelling and cinematography. And and he is in that boat where he didn't have to wait all this time for Severance Season 2. He watched it just a few months ago, so you got lucky there, Eric. Anything you want to add on in terms of Jay's picks there?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely a lot of ones that were on my list as well. I think those are like the highly anticipated television shows that were absolutely going to come into the conversation. I'm excited for all of them, cautiously optimistic for projects like Daredevil, for sure, but a lot of those returning seasons, you kind of mentioned at the top of the episode, Jay, that it's a lot of them are going to come up on the list. A lot of season 2s, 3s, 4s of shows that we know and love. And I think that's a good start for 2025, but I'm excited for some of the new stuff. I'm just hoping it pans out. It's always a hit or miss. And this year, Phil, was really strong in television shows that kind of caught us by surprise. So it'll be funny to listen to this episode and hear what shows weren't on our radar at all.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of shows that are on my radar here are, speaking of Apple TV, there's a show called The Studio, which stars Seth Rogen, and he is like the head of a Hollywood studio. And it looks really, really good. I'm a big fan of those Apple TV shows that are so great that nobody is watching. So hopefully this will be another one of those. I do know that Silo Season 2, I think, is coming out in 2025. Now, I'd never finished Season 1 of Silo, but there was enough there for me to go back and give it a shot. Jay, I don't know if you ever tried that one out on Apple TV, but it was definitely an interesting premise. I'll probably revisit that. And then, once again, sticking with Apple TV, we probably won't get a project in 2025, but I'm interested to see whatever is next for Ted Lasso. Jay, you and I talked about this in terms of being at peace with where the show ended, but I mean, when you have a moneymaker like this, when you have a show that's incredibly popular, it's only really a matter of time before they dive back into this universe. And the way that this is going to work, from what I understand, is only some of the actors and actresses are still under contract. And I think it's the ones that are set or that are based in the UK. So we're probably not going to see Ted, probably not going to see Beard, probably not going to see some of those other characters. But a lot of the characters that are still based in overseas are still technically under contract. So, one, have you heard of The Studio, Jay? And two, do you think we're going to learn about whatever this next Ted Lasso project is in 2025?
I didn't think I heard of The Studio, but then I Googled it and I recognized this image of Seth Rogen looking skeptically back at the camera with red glasses on. And so I haven't watched the trailer yet, but it was one that I clocked because I'm also a known Apple TV stan, maybe not as much as you, Phil, but I do appreciate a lot that they put out. But I've also heard of, I've also watched most of the first season of Silo. I know the second season is coming out now, actually. And so I'm looking forward to diving back in once I have a little bit more TV free time open up. Yeah, no, as far as Ted Lasso goes, it just, if you keep calling it Ted Lasso, then like that's frustrating to me. Like I need it to be of that universe or of that world, I suppose is a better way to put it. Because I guess, because Ted, if you bring Sudeikis back, it just, I don't know, that would be honestly kind of, I would watch it, but I'd be extraordinarily skeptical. Slightly less skeptical if they announce something where, yeah, you're right, it's just the British crew that's on board, because I mean, it's just so many fantastic characters that I would love to reconnect with, but yeah, I hope it's because they have an interesting story to tell, and not just because it'll keep a lot of people subscribed to Apple TV.
Right. If there was an inkling that they wanted to do this, they should have just split season 3 up into 2 parts, because season 3 was incredibly rushed. If they wanted more Ted Lasso, they could have figured that out and extended it because it was very similar to the season 2 of Arcane. A lot of people thought it was rushed, and there were definitely elements of that story that were. They could have just done that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. So, Eric, I do want to throw it over to you, but first I'm gonna lob this up to you because you and I are going to be very much interested in seeing how this goes. The WWE is moving to Netflix, and Monday Night Raw on January 6th is the first show. Live from Intuit Dome in LA, and it's basically a pay-per-view show. And you and I had a conversation in the last episode of What Did I Miss in November, very concerned because of how the Logan Paul-Mike Tyson fight went in terms of streaming. And this is going to be a weekly 3-hour show, including, I believe, NXT, and I think SmackDown is moving to USA, if I remember correctly. But the big one, Monday Night Raw, is going to be streaming on Netflix, and that is going to be a pretty landmark event. So do you have any concerns in terms of going over to Netflix for those of our audience who did not hear the conversation we had on What Did I Miss, and throw out some shows as well as anime, with you being the anime expert that you're looking forward to in 2025?
Oh, okay. I'm doing anime now instead of the other section. Well, we can do that.
I thought we combined it with TV shows.
Well, the Patreon pre-show footage will show that you said it was in other, but that's okay. I can adjust. So. I can adjust. And we're doing wrestling. Man, wow, what a trifecta.
That's TV.
of conversation we're doing here. So many other opportunities. But Monday Night Raw on Netflix is going to be a concern. Apparently, we were filled in by friends of ours that like Love is Blind and other shows. When they've done live stream before, it's been a problem. So, like, we're late to the party. We just happened to watch the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight because apparently the whole world had nothing to do that night. So we all watched it. And it was a nightmare. It was really a nightmare. So I'm a little concerned, but Netflix also has a partnership with the NFL. And I think that if they're going to get this right, these are their opportunities to do so. Like, they got to get it right for both the Christmas games, and then we got to do it for Raw. So I'm excited to see where this all goes. I think from a mass appeal standpoint, Monday Night Raw being on Netflix and wrestling in general is a great move. So more eyes on the product, arguably the best it's been in quite a long time. And I think, again, it has that mass appeal now that can start to reach new fans and grow from here. That being said, a couple of shows that I wanted to throw out. Really, only a couple outside of the ones you both have already called out. For me, The Bear Season 4, I'm excited to watch it. It still has its hook in me. Did lessen a little bit with Season 3. I know that's where a couple people had an issue with the show. Phil, you jumped off a little bit sooner than that. But I am excited for the 4th season of The Bear. I'm also excited for Wednesday Season 2. Wednesday is the Addams Family kind of spin-off show that they made just for, obviously, Wednesday, Jenna Ortega, and the first season was fun. It wasn't anything I took too seriously. I enjoyed it, and it's probably something that will come across my screen again come next year. I also am excited for Alien Earth after seeing Alien Romulus, having to rewatch the original Alien in preparation for that movie. And it's always been a franchise I've enjoyed, but nothing I ever really sunk my teeth into. A good Alien television show might do just that. So I'm optimistic and interested. Will I end up checking it out? I may wait till I hear the reception. And that really goes, Phil, to a show I'm going to throw back to you to kind of jump back into to keep it in the television space. The Office spinoff. I'm at least intrigued, but what are your thoughts as, the resident Office fan before me? Now that I'm in it, I'm excited, but like, I don't know, not really.
Yeah, so the premise of the show, if you haven't heard, if I recall correctly, because it's not going to be a paper company, it is is it a magazine company or something like that? They're like a newspaper. I have to look it up again, but I know it's not a paper company. So it's a similar premise, but it is they're set up in the Midwest, so also not in Scranton. It's going to be in the Midwest, and a totally different type of company. No, I'm not excited. I definitely will check it out, see how it goes. I mean, these Office spin-offs and reboots are popping up all over the place. I mean, we're getting they're relaunching Scrubs, I think, in 2026, and that's something I definitely don't want either. So here's the problem, though. It's like people are saying, oh, we want something original, and then you don't support something original. Like it is a miracle. I won't say it's a miracle, that's too, but because Abbott Elementary is a great show, but like when shows like Abbott Elementary come along, The Bear, like even though I don't watch it anymore, when those shows come along and they're new and they're fresh ideas, you're like, it's almost like like a sigh of relief, because it's not just the same thing over and over again. Jay, have you kept up with any of this Office reboot? And were you a fan of the original series?
I was a fan of the original series. It's been a while since I've rewatch the whole dang thing, which happens every few years or so. But I feel like the last few times I've sort of restarted it, ended up skipping part of season 1, and then sort of fall off between season 4, 5, maybe even 6 if I'm really feeling it. So I am a pretty big fan of the series. I have absolutely no interest in this spin-off / reboot. As a person who has watched it, the algorithm knows I've watched it, and so I have seen these articles pop up in my feed every once in a while saying that things are in the works, but I feel like that's been true for the last 5-8 years probably. There has been chatter about this. I didn't know it was actually happening. This seems pretty concrete. Production is set to begin in July in this article that I'm reading right now. And so that's wild. I don't think that I care. I think I like The Office. I like rewatching The Office, and I will. Yeah, I don't think that I need another spin-off here. I mean, certainly if everyone comes back and says, wow, this is a brave new direction for mockumentaries like The Office, sure, I'll give it a try. This is not something that I'm going to, I'm not going to subscribe to Peacock to watch this day one, unfortunately.
Oh man, does that mean since WWE's moving to Netflix, can I cancel my Peacock subscription? The only other thing I watch on Peacock is the Office Superfan episodes that has like all the deleted footage, and it's pretty good. There's some stuff in there that's like, oh, they probably should have kept that in. But the only other reason I use Peacock, Eric, is for Sunday Night Football and wrestling. So that might be on the chopping block soon.
Do you guys not get paid to have Peacock at this point? Like it's either pennies or they're paying us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Sure, keep putting stuff on there. Going back to 2023, Ted, the surprise of the year, maybe
true.
for
Ted
us, right?
Ted is really good. Ted wasn't. Yeah, damn. I'm gonna have to keep it for Ted. Never mind. Oh man, I can't wait for that show to come back. What do you mean they got him?
So many. You gotta try the lobster. It's so many.
If I wanted the goddamn lobster, I would have gotten the goddamn lobster.
Oh, god damn it. I should have got what you ordered. So good.
Great show.
On the anime front, if you want to do this now, I'm not going to have much for other. So we could either jump into anime now, or we could transition to movies. What do you want to do? What are we doing?
Well, anime's TV, so that's where I said.
You're not going to do it, but if you could play the clip of what you said, that'd be great. I think for comedic value. So yeah, I'll take on the bulk of this conversation since Phil pretends to watch anime, and Jay, I don't think you watch.
I was literally
much.
watching Dantanon before we got on here, so.
Okay, so you watch one of like the 3 biggest anime this year. That's great.
Okay.
So let's
Sorry,
talk
I don't
about
watch
it.
Bunny Senpai fucks a rabbit girl in the ass. I don't know what you're watching.
You got like 4 of those words right. I'll be honest with you. You got 4 of those words right.
Eric's like, oh, that's actually on. It's on.
That's pretty good.
That's on Peacock. Yeah.
Oh man, it's a rough time. Well, let's hit the big heavy hitters before I start speaking Spanish to Phil. The ones he knows: Solo Leveling Season 2, Dandadan Season 2, which is going to be really, really exciting. Kaiju number 8 Season 2. Also, they're going to be coming out with like a movie, which is one of those recap movies, but it does have an OVA, so a little bit of new content there. I don't know if I'll be checking that out, but something to note. The Chainsaw Man movie does not have an official release date, but it is expected to potentially come as early as 2025. The final season of My Hero Academia is expected to come out, which is going to be a banger. We also have Demon Slayer, the Infinity Castle films, with the first one potentially, probably, coming out in 2025. And then a couple of ones for me that I'm really excited for is the One Piece. Whether or not that comes out in 2025, I don't know if that's 100%, but gonna be definitely checking that out. And if it's what I think it can be, gonna be shouting it from the rooftops. Super excited for the potential that has to bring new fans into the show. The final season of Dr. Stone, Science Future, is going to be completed, or at least started in 2025. As a fan of that show, really, really excited. My Happy Marriage Season 2. We also have Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Season 2. Every time I say that, it is, I know, shocking, but it's a really good show. Boy, Ghost, Toilet, it just is what it is. And finally, Sakamoto Days is a new anime that's coming out on Netflix, and I'm really excited. This is probably going to be the one, if you don't listen to anything else I just said, or everything else didn't really, catch your attention, this is the one I would say be on the lookout for. I think it can really make a splash in the anime scene for those of you that are more casual watchers, like Phil. So yeah, that's my list.
So annoying. Jay,
I really like how he read it like a news reporter. He knew we had nothing to say, and if we did, he didn't want to hear it. So
No.
yeah.
I mean, Phil, Jay, what would you guys like to say?
Yeah, Windbreaker Season 2 will come out in 2025. I'm excited about that.
I left you that one. Yep.
And Eric, what is this? Did you see that are they re-releasing the final episodes of Attack on Titan as a film in theaters? Is that what they're doing?
They are, yeah.
Okay.
They missed the opportunity, and they thought, yeah, let's just go back and do it. There is going to be some... There's going to be some
Surprised they
cleaning
didn't do
up.
it originally, honestly. Like,
It still makes no sense. Demon Slayer is literally going to shove it in their faces, all the billions of cash that they're going to get from doing that. And all Attack on Titan had to do, instead of releasing it into multiple parts as an anime, release it in theaters. It would have been absolutely crazy. But they are releasing it. I believe there's going to be like a little bit of extra content that wasn't originally in the final show. And it's obviously going to have some of those touch-ups that you typically see on like Blu-rays of anime, where they remaster or they retouch up some of the animation. And for that reason, it might be worth it. Will I check it out? Probably not, but that's more out of spite.
Well, I'll certainly come back and listen to this when I crave watching my one anime per year, and I will pick it from this selection, and it'll probably be the final season of My Hero. Yeah.
I need to catch up on that. And then, Eric, what is the word on Blue Lock? No Blue Lock news in 2025?
In 2025, I don't believe so. I will double check that, but no, I don't think anything else has been announced as far as a season 3. It definitely should happen. It's still very popular. But the second season of Blue Lock has had a lot of criticism. And I've only seen clips because I haven't watched the full season yet. I've been waiting for the dub to catch up. I've watched it in sub and dub. I just really like the Blue Lock dub, so checking that out very, very soon and catching up. But it is basically people saying this is a PDF or PowerPoint document. That's what the animation looks like at times. And Blue Lock already had some of that reputation for season 1. So again, if you're gonna animate a manga, you probably shouldn't be making it look like manga panels with color and just audio. And that's kind of been the criticism. Although I do think they are improving on that, and there are a lot of behind the scenes things with the studio, and we already know the reputation that treatment of Japanese animators and all of that. So I'm sure a lot of that is in play. But I don't think it's in danger of coming out. I just don't know that 2025 will happen for those reasons.
Yeah, well, all those, for the most part, except for the ones that Eric made up, are on my list for sure. Those other things can't be real. I'm pretty sure those aren't actual anime that anyone has ever heard of. But Jay or Eric, anything else you guys wanted to add on? Actually, let me ask you guys this: anybody excited for this animated My Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show on Disney Plus? Either one of you?
No.
I'll be honest with you. We mentioned Daredevil. I think I almost threw in Ironheart as like a possibly, but I mean we're just kind of bringing up Marvel stuff as like a courtesy. Like we'll maybe check it out. It's not like we want to check it out anymore. So they have absolutely lost our good graces. And, we're going to get to movies here, and the Superman trailer just released. That's going to come into the conversation. Like, talk about an opportunity. DC has never had more of an opportunity than they do now to take over this genre, because Marvel has absolutely lost the plot. They've lost the plot. It's really, really bad. So they're going to come up again in movies. But again, it's more of a courtesy thing. Like, oh, these movies are coming out. I hope they're good. But they're not guaranteed watches anymore. And I think that's the tough part.
Yeah, well, actually, let's do that, Eric. Let's segue right there because you lobbed it up. Let's start with Superman, because we are recording this on December 19th, so well in advance before this episode comes out. And it just so happened the first Superman teaser trailer came out today. So let me throw it to you here first, Jay. Did you see it? And do you have any optimism for the James Gunn DC universe?
So I will certainly say that I did watch the trailer, and I will actually say that the trailer, I didn't know what the James Gunn touch was going to bring to Superman. I was a little scared because I have not enjoyed James Gunn's take on a lot of DC properties lately. I really did. I did not like the Suicide Squad, and I just sort of, it just really hasn't quite hit, because I feel like he's just sort of doing Guardians of the Galaxy over and over and over and over again, but just like more and more crass. Just like it just seems like he, has been given a full like green light to do whatever he wants with DC, and he just seems to be swearing more often, and I don't particularly find it all that funny. And so like I never had an affinity for Marvel or DC like going into this, and so the MCU was sort of my first, like, that was what I globbed onto because I like the movies. And so I don't have an allegiance to either. And so really it is up in the air for me right now. And so all that's to say, I did not care about this Superman movie. I would say after seeing the trailer today, I would see it if it got really good reviews in the theater. Like that's sort of where I am at right now. I'm still not planning to go see it day one. I don't have a super big affinity for Superman. I will say though, like the music though was quite good at the trailer. That was the thing that kind of got me swelling a little bit and excited about the movie. If nothing else, just because strangely enough, what flashed back in my head was the Superman ride in Six Flags. They played that music over and over again in the line, and so that's what that made me think of, and how much like fun that was, and like the world that they built in Six Flags, and sort of like for whatever reason it took me back to that moment, and like as a kid like riding that roller coaster a lot, and if nothing else, that got me a little bit excited, and so but I look forward to seeing what happens. But it's not I'm not gonna be there Thursday night going to watch it. Probably not even the first weekend, unless people are like, this is a revolutionary superhero movie. But I also don't see that being the case.
Yeah, Superman is just a character that just does not interest me. There are so many good, interesting characters in the DC lineup, but you have to start with, like, it makes sense to start with Superman. When we're talking about James Gunn getting this thing off the ground, it makes sense to start here and do the complete 180 of what Snyder did. And, you know, the jury's out on that. And not Snyder. Yeah. Is that who did the other Superman? Yeah. So do the complete opposite. And Eric, you know, we've been very vocal about Zack Snyder's directing. You somehow watched the Rebel Moon film, which is crazy. Still a crazy stat line to me. Like I have some crazy movies on mine, but the fact that you sat down and watched that is pretty impressive, honestly. But listen, a good Superman and a good DC films is good for all of us. It's good for Marvel. It's good for fans, and I hope that they nail this. Again, just like you, I'm going to go into it very cautiously optimistic. Eric, knowing you and I think we probably will be there opening weekend to give it a shot, and you know, we'll be paying attention to the content creators that we trust to hear what they to see what they are saying about it. And again, I think it's only good if this movie turns out to be successful. So we will see. Eric, I know in terms of James Gunn, you, just like Jay, you've also been a little iffy on some of his later projects. So Superman trailer, what did you think? And then also after that, take it away with some other films you've circled in 2025.
Okay, I've got a lot of them, so I'm gonna hold off on some just to make sure we have enough out there we can always circle back. But I definitely, for Superman, it's also a character I don't really have much of an affinity with, but I have always appreciated when done right. And I just like the kind of back to basics, going back to the original Christopher Reeve Superman feeling that I didn't experience, and I have, again, no affinity to, but I'm curious. I'm definitely interested. So the Jay brought up a good point about the music. I think that's a huge thing. I mean, people were really getting emotional with the people that do have a relationship with the character and that franchise. The music has a lot to do with that, and I definitely felt the impact through the screen, through my sound bar, through everything that was going on when I pressed play on the trailer in my living room. And I was like, that really feels like something's there. And that's why I mentioned again that DC has a really big opportunity here, because the only Marvel like movies that are coming out, maybe I'm missing one, but the main two, Captain America Brave New World, which looks like it has promise, but it also looks like it could be shit.
It's also Anthony Mackie, who is not a leading man, so
there's an argument to be made there. You know, I think that's why you bring in Harrison Ford, and you know, you're already showing off the Red Hulk stuff and all of that. Thunderbolts looks like it could be a good time. If this was like 5-10 years ago, I'm like, oh man, maybe they got another Guardians of the Galaxy on their hands, right? We can't keep using that. We can't keep saying every group movie that's not the Avengers is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. They're just not, and they haven't been. So Thunderbolts has potential, but I don't know, Jay. Either of those two movies going to be one that you do go see opening weekend, or are you in the same boat with the fatigue, since you also don't really have an affinity for either of those?
Yeah, no, I am definitely fatigued. I would say of the two, I am probably, I won't say more hopeful. I would say that I just hope that Brave New World is actually good. I could not care less about the Thunderbolts. I guess I should say that I think that I like some of those characters. I mean, Bucky's going to be there, and I mean, I like Bucky, I guess, but also at this point, it's like, what else can you do with this character? Brave New World. It has that. The trailers sort of have that feeling. They have that Winter Soldier feeling, that spy espionage geopolitical something or other that they could give us. But I'm not holding my breath. I'm not going to be disappointed if it's bad. It just is. It just is sort of this continuation, this coin flip era of Marvel movies where it's either a hit or a miss, and it's really not even that much of like, it's not 100% or 0%. It's like you're pinging back and forth between like a 60% or 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, right? You know, it's just everything is just so straight down the middle, and I'm like, I'm just never gonna forgive Anthony Mackie for ruining Altered Carbon for me. I know that's like a 7-year-old take or something at this point, but it just kills me every time I see him. It hurts.
He never recovered from losing to B-Rabbit in 8 Mile, so
there's an argument.
That's
to
really
be made
what
there.
it was, honestly.
I will stand corrected. The other film that is out there, probably the one that is the most exciting, is the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Any feeling towards Fantastic Four? This is their first appearance in the MCU and the cast there.
I would certainly say this is the cast that I'm most excited about. And if it's truly a great like standalone story, I think that they've got potential there, and I think that they do have the most potential given just like how bad. I mean, obviously you have the first two Fantastic Four movies with Chris Evans as the Human Torch, right? That era that was just sort of like cheesy superhero era. Maybe like just a tier below like the Spider-Man films of that time. But then you have the more recent iterations, which are just god awful. And I think Pedro Pascal is sort of Mr. Fantastic. I think that's the right step. Bona fide movie star, a leading man. Unlike other actors that we've already discussed. And so I'm interested. You've got me interested. I wasn't sure. Does that one have a 2025 release date, or is that just 2025?
It comes out right around Superman, right? Right around the same
Is that
time.
the summer?
Right around.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see.
I want so badly for the Thunderbolts to be good, not only because I'm a big fan of Florence Pugh and Yelena, I love that character. Bucky, like you said, excited to see Bucky, but I have become such a big fan of Wyatt Russell. One, because of the Monarch Legacy of Monsters show. I really loved him in that. And also he's great in Under the Banner of Heaven, which is a show I watched back in 2022. Andrew Garfield show. Really good. And I've just become a big fan of his, and I like that John Walker character from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I hope that this film is good. I hope they don't try and, for the lack of a better term, James Gunn it up and put a whole bunch of quippy BS humor in there. And I hope it's, again, like you said, very Winter Soldier-esque, and hopefully return to form in terms of giving us a film that is serious. People have kind of cooled on David Harbour. He's just there. The Alexi character is fine. Whatever that was, a Red Guardian or something like that. I can't remember. But that whole I could beat Captain America shtick, like, yeah, one movie was enough of that. We don't need any more of that. So I hope the Thunderbolts is good. Do I think it's gonna be? If I had to like spin a wheel, like 60-70% of it would be like no, and then 30% would be maybe. Like 20%
I can go
would
get
be
the
maybe.
wheel.
No, that's fine. That's okay.
Okay.
So
That's fine.
But yeah, we got to throw the Marvel projects out there. Just, I think, out of, like you said, Eric, out of respect to the MCU.
That's really what it is, because I'm ready to move on already
Yeah.
from the conversation. That's how much I feel so
what else you
little
got?
about Marvel. I'm going to throw out some big ones, and then I'm going to hold on to some ones that people have heard of or might be excited for, but they're not, more for the casual audience. So maybe if you guys want to do the same in response, some of those big movies you might be excited for. Paddington in Peru. Phil, absolutely. Opening night. Check out Paddington.
What's your second
2.
favorite movie of all time? Paddington 2. What?
So good. It's so good.
It changed
Please.
my life and made me want to be a better man. Speaking
Check
of
it out.
Pedro.
It's so good. So good. Talking about good, Wicked for Good is also going to be coming out. So part 2. Really excited for that. Avatar Fire and Ash. Listen, if you're on the Avatar train, you're on it. If you're off, you're off. So speaking to both of those sides, I'm on it still. I'm going to check it out. Phil, Jurassic World Rebirth. I know you're excited to talk about that and the potential of a 2025 release. We've talked already a little bit about the live action How to Train Your Dragon. Very skeptical. Why do we have it? But then there's also some sequels here in the animated space. Zootopia 2, which is a big hitter. And then finally, The Bad Guys 2, which is a DreamWorks film that I don't think a lot of people talk about, but its animation really, really good. It's around the time, right before Puss in Boots, where you started to see they were doing a little bit different styles of animation that caught your attention. And I don't know if there's a need for a sequel for this film, but I know it will at least look good. And for that reason, I'm at least intrigued. So, Jay, any reactions to any of those? And are there any other films you want to highlight, maybe some big hitters?
Yeah, so I think the number one film of the ones that you just listed that I had on my personal list is going to be Jurassic World Rebirth. I can't even say I love this franchise anymore, but I just love the original movie so much. It's my favorite movie of all time. Jurassic World, when it came to theaters, I had never gotten to see the original in theaters because I wasn't of this earth yet. And so getting to see Jurassic World in theaters back in 2015 was one of the greatest cinematic theatrical experiences I've ever had. And then within the last few years, I got to see Jurassic Park in theaters for the first time ever, and it was just jaw-dropping. I loved it so much. And then Fallen Kingdom happened, and it was just so mediocre. It was just so fine. And then Dominion happened, and they got the gang back together, and it was so bad. And it's so disappointing. And it made $1 billion, which is probably the most upsetting thing about it, is that it did so well.
It's exactly like Star Wars. It pisses me off how much it mirrored, because The Force Awakens and Jurassic World had the same type of nostalgic. It worked.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Yep.
Then they fucked up the sequel, and then they said, "Oh, we're sorry. We're gonna try to fix this," and fucked up the third one by trying to make everyone happy, and made money, pissing me off.
Yep. Yeah. No, absolutely awful. So Rebirth, I am open to it. I have to be, because I just love dinosaurs so much. And I want it more so than any other Marvel movie, any other TV show, anything else. I want it to be good so badly. Really, and it will break my heart. It will break my heart. I am assuming this. I am in touch with that feeling already. So we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, that could be one I do see right away, just so I can form my own opinion about it right off the bat. Without because when Dominion came out, I didn't go see it right away, and I let the reviews get in my brain before I even saw it, and I was dooming on my way into the theater. So I think that affected it, and so this time this is a movie I'm really determined to go in opinion free on it. So maybe I may even try to avoid trailers for this one, just because I'm really I've already read the synopsis and I already don't like it. So we'll see, yeah. Man.
Listen, outside of Scarlett Johansson, who was a very frustrating casting, the cast isn't bad. But it's just not been enough time.
No.
Dominion just came out, and you needed to let this thing sit for a while. It's not even an if. They were going to reboot this, or not reboot it, but continue it. They were going to continue the story, and if they weren't going to reboot it and just make a brand new thing from scratch, then this is what they were going to do. I think the best news that could come out from Jurassic World Rebirth is that's getting pushed into 2026. That is what I want to hear, is that it's going to get pushed a whole year until the 2026 summer season, and because they want to continue to work on it. And but that's probably not going to happen. To kind of give this a little bit of a precursor to the next conversation we have, they got a game in the holster as well that's going to accompany it, and they also there's 2 Jurassic games that are basically in the holster right now. So these things have always been about selling merchandise, and that's what they're ready to do. And I don't doubt that Rebirth, even if it is to the same quality of Dominion will still gross right around $1 billion, because people love this franchise. People love dinosaurs. Kids love dinosaurs, and that is where we're probably going to end up, unfortunately. But to bring you back to, I haven't seen The Bad Guys, Eric, but that is on my watch list. Maybe that's a late to the party we can actually do here in 2025. But DreamWorks, we've said this before, maybe this is a hot take, it shouldn't be, is a better animation studio than Disney right now. They're putting out better films, they're putting out better quality, and even the movies that are like okay are still better than the Disney movies that are okay. So this is just our opportunity to say, go watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, please, as soon as possible. I might go watch it tonight. We'll see what happens. But Jay, any input on Paddington in Peru, which will be the film of the year in 2025?
I'm very much looking forward to this movie. Same as everybody else, I watched the unbearable weight of massive talent, or massive something.
Yep, yeah, you got it.
Yep, that was it. Yep. And I was like, what's going on here, Paddington? Of course, then I go watch it, and then of course I agree, because it is an emotional roller coaster of a movie. Paddington 2 is incredible, and everybody should watch it. You know what? Do yourself a favor right now. Go, double feature it, Paddington 2 to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and you will have yourself an incredible
What a
evening.
hell of a day.
Boy, what a great night that would be. Oh, man, what an outstanding time.
Yeah, are you having mental
You're
health
gonna have
problems?
such a
Are you
whole,
feeling down?
what
Are you depressed? Well, just watch these two films
Paddington
and
Peru,
it will be
the
fixed.
double feature of Paddington and Peru and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
God.
Heal me, actually.
Yeah, looking forward to Paddington. Every other sequel, every other CGI remake, I'll take a pass on. Zootopia 2, Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon,
Moana. Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon. When I watched the trailer, I will say the first time I watched it, I was like, they did it. They made Toothless a real dragon, and then I was like, well, it looks too much like Toothless. Like, it was eerie. The second time I watched it and I really looked at it, I was like, no, this isn't it. It was off-putting. But I don't care about any of these things. Not for me.
Well, on my end, Eric, as you you said you wanted to leave a few, so I'll point out some. One that is kind of like relatively new to my possible watch list is Sinners, which is the new Ryan Coogler film coming out with why am I forgetting his name? Killmonger. What is it?
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan and Josh Allen's fiance, whose name I'm also Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld. No,
You are struggling
Bill.
so hard.
The fantasy football playoffs have started, and I'm just keeping it, so I got football in the brain. But
I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to interject with something I've been struggling with for like the last 10 minutes. So I had Sinners, and for some reason, instead of Michael B. Jordan, I was thinking of Brandon T. Jackson. And I've been literally debating this whole time. I'm going to say that name when it's time to bring up Sinners, and I'm going to fuck this up. So thank you. No, not the same. So I know you're messing
Brandon
up
T.
big.
Jackson even still active? Is he still?
No, he's like 40 years old. No, I don't think so. But Tropic Thunder, great movie.
That's how you know he looked it up, because he's exactly 40 years old. So
Yeah, no. I had to look it up. No, I was like, this isn't Michael B. Jordan. I feel bad about that because I know who Michael B. Jordan is. So, Phil, I was just trying to...
famously from who played Al Pacino in Tropic Thunder.
Great film.
Anyway, Sinners looks very, very good. And then one that we have had circled for a long time. It's had some delays, but it has an all-star cast. Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho, his next film. The first film I think we'll see in theaters since... Well, we didn't see Parasite in theaters, but his first film since Parasite. So that is going to be I'm just going to say it right now. It'll be outstanding. Robert Pattinson, very much looking forward to that. And then a film, I'll throw this one out here, a film that we recently covered in terms of a series. 28 years later, we just got an absolutely fantastic trailer. That is how you do a horror trailer. The 28 years later, if you want to go check that one out. So I do still need to see 28 weeks later, even though I've seen like the opening, and most people are like, yeah, you could probably just watch that and you'll be pretty good in terms of the rest of the film. So really excited to return to that franchise. So but yeah, Jay, any of those, have you heard of any of those on your list? Sinners, Mickey 17, 28 years later?
The only one that I think has crossed my feed is 28 years later, which is interesting. I have not seen anything from that franchise. I know the both of you have covered it, and which re-sparked my interest in it when I saw it come across your podcast feeds, and so it is a franchise I'm very interested in, and I have avoided the trailer based on the fact that I haven't seen the other movies. One movie that I did want to bring up, purely based off of the lead actor, is Love Hurts, coming out in February, starring Ke Huy Quan. I fell in love with Ke Huy Quan thanks to Everything Everywhere All at Once, and now that I loved him in Loki season 2, and I can't get enough of the guy. And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing him in this movie. It's the only reason I know about this movie, but that's all you need. He's done incredible work these last few years. So yeah, that's the last shout out I have.
Ariana DeBose is in that too, and she's outstanding. So it is, and Sean Astin. So yeah, he's like a sleeper cell agent essentially. It looks like essentially partially the character he is in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So he's the best. So I can't wait for that. Eric, I know Mickey 17 obviously was on your list as well.
Yep.
Sinners for the wrong reasons because you thought it was somebody else starring in it. The streets clamor
just today
for a return of Brandon T. Jackson. Apparently.
Again, I can't explain. I understand it's not a good look.
Say that name either.
I know. I'm explaining to you. I know it's not a good look. I don't know what happened. I literally was like so afraid because then I got in my head because it got in there. I was like, I'm gonna fuck this up. Even when you asked who that was, I kind of waited for Jay to say it first because I was afraid. So all that being said, you actually picked 3 of the 4 movies I left off. So I'm glad I held off on those so you could have them. 28 days later, Jay, instead of hoping you can get a bootleg copy like we did, you can actually just watch that on streaming very soon.
We didn't break the law. What are you talking about?
No,
we broke
Corey,
Corey,
patron of the show.
Corey,
thanks again.
who ripped a copy for
literally couldn't do the episode without you. So, no, we appreciate it. But yeah, now it's coming to streaming, so making it even easier. The only film I had on my list is an A24 film that I just recently saw the trailer for. It's called Death of a Unicorn.
Oh, yeah.
And that looked really, really good. Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd, Will Poulter, Richard E. Grant, a couple other people here that
Jenna Ortega plays for some reason, even though she's outstanding.
Listen, yeah, I know. Listen, but she's really good at it.
Great.
So
she's great.
That movie looks absolutely bonkers. It's either going to be really good or really forgettable, and it's A24, so I'm leaning towards potentially really good.
It'll be weird as shit.
It's going to be weird. But yeah, that's the only other movie that I really had that is for sure on my radar. Again, going to be really curious what movies we missed on
I have
this,
a couple more.
Because okay, cool.
I have 2
Even
more
better.
before we move on to the next thing. Wake Up Dead Man, which is the next Knives Out installment. I love this character that Daniel Craig is just having a blast playing. And once again, stellar cast for that movie. And then Eric, whatever Glenn Powell does. So I don't even know what films he's going to be in 2025.
He's going to be in a remake of The Running Man, which
I did see that. Which
that's...
I've never seen the original Running Man, but whatever
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
whatever he does, we're signed up for it. So the Glennaissance
100%.
continues into 2025.
That's right.
All right. Well, I think that was it for us in terms of films. Like you said, I'm sure there'll be some that pop up. I'm gonna also continue to keep my goal to be 50 movies again. That was a perfect number for me. As again, we are recording this a couple days before the end of the year, but I am at 46, and I have my next 4 movies planned out. So more instances of like the Wild Robot, It's What's Inside, Conclave, and less Borderlands, Atlas, Madam Webs, please. Let's keep 2025 up to a higher standard. But let's move into video games here, guys, as we get into the latter half of this episode. And I'm just going to kick it off here right now because the three of us will need to talk about it. Let's discuss GTA 6. Is it coming out in 2025? First off, is that game going to come out? Or will there be a delay into maybe later 2025 or even 2026? What do we think, Jay? You're thinking, you're pondering. How you feeling?
Yeah, no, I don't know. There feels like there's a lot of like mixed things coming out of Rockstar these days. Various reports of people not being particularly happy with the working environment, and it's just like it feels sort of not great. And I don't feel super strongly one way or another about this game. Like I don't hope for it to be bad, or like I'm not going to be devastated if it's bad either. So I do sort of doubt that it is going to come out, just because I feel as though with a game this big that they are really going to lean into the marketing, I want to say, but also maybe they don't have to. Maybe it's just so big that they can just release 3 trailers between now and the release, and it'll still be the biggest game that we've had in a decade. So I truly don't know. I am bamboozled by Rockstar, and we'll see. But yeah, personally, this is not going to be a day one pickup for me regardless. But just because of how big it is in the industry, I'll be paying attention. It'll be interesting to see what happens for sure.
What about you, Eric? Would you be comfortable taking it with the first overall pick in a hypothetical fantasy critic draft? Would you take a GTA 6?
Well, yeah, because it's either going to be that or Silk Song. So.
No, Eric, no.
The real question is what's going to come out first, Silk
Song
Song or Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
Everything at this point, we've drawn our line in the sand. It's everything that's happened before GTA 6 and everything that's happened after GTA 6. So I would like for us to finally get there so we can have that landmark in history and we can finally get to the after. I'm going to say yes, but we haven't really seen any like gameplay. Like we saw the trailer, obviously. We haven't really seen something concrete that tells me it's coming out.
Like gameplay leaks, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really not sure. I think it's the year to do it, but I do not know. If it does come out, it'll be the biggest game of the year by a mile.
Yeah, my issue with this is the landscape of Grand Theft Auto and gaming has changed drastically since 2014 when GTA 5 came out, right? And there's going to be such a heavy emphasis on GTA Online that it just makes me worried for what I love Grand Theft Auto for, which is their storytelling. So I'm concerned about that. If I were a betting man, I would say this is not coming out in 2025. But even if it is even if it's mediocre, I think it won't really matter because people are still clamoring to jump back in and pay money for shark cards and do all the shit that they do in GTA Online. And even if it's an okay game, and like you said, Jay, with Rockstar being with their reputation kind of being a little bit on blast here over the last couple of years, I don't think it's really going to matter because, like we said, it's going to be self-sustaining, and it's going to be the biggest launch probably of all time in terms of modern gaming, and they're releasing it at the perfect time. We're probably 3-4 years removed from the PS6 and the whatever's next for the Xbox, if they continue to do consoles, so they'll be able to remaster this bitch again in 4 years and continue to re-release it over and over again. So I don't know, man, we will see. But I think the next big story in terms of gaming that I'll just throw out as far as a overarching conversation for all of us is the Switch 2. I think we're probably at any point now going to hear about the Switch 2. Some things have already leaked in terms of what it's going to look like. Eric, you guys just jumped into the Switch landscape with your son, and I think he gets a lot of use out of his the Switch Lite. Is there anything about the Switch 2? The rumor is that it's going to launch with a new Mario Kart game. Is that anything that's going to make you want to dive into getting an actual Switch that you keep at the house? Or is this still going to be another console that just, passes you by? Like, you and I are not really the Nintendo guys here.
Yeah, no, not really the Nintendo guy at all. It's always a game, like, they're games that you feel like you're going to want to play with people. I don't want people anywhere near me. So bringing them over to my house, not a great start already.
19 joysticks for us to play.
Right. And then I don't want to take my Switch out. Like, are you kidding me? I don't want to do that. So it's just not the console for me. I just bought a PC. I'm poor now, so I really can't even afford it. What are we really talking about here?
Jay, what about you? Do you have any anticipation for a new Nintendo Switch console that won't be able to run even the most basic of games in terms of third parties?
Sorry, I'm just recovering from Eric. I don't really. I mean, that's the whole point. So, okay, I think I understand. The point of the Switch is that you can take it places. And so, but you don't want to do that, so thus the Switch is not for you, or do you have...
Essentially, yeah. Like, where would I ever take it?
I'm to the couch?
Travel?
I mean, like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
what do you...
I want to do... I would just come here and do everything in my office. I got my PlayStation there, my Xbox there, my PC...
Yeah, but I mean, you're never
sitting
there. You're never sitting there. Your son's watching a show. You want to spend time with your son, but you don't want to be watching whatever he's watching. So you pull out the old Switch. That's not enticing to you.
I guess for me, I'm not a big mobile game player, in any way. So that's also another thing. And I don't know. I never really got hooked on those type of games. The furthest back I can think to is obviously the Game Boy, as far as a handheld. But yeah, I guess handheld gaming has never felt like the premium experience. And I understand, I'm not knocking the Switch. I know you play Zelda on the Switch. It looks good. But I'm just saying it's just never really interested me to kind of look at it and just be like, all right, I'm going to be down in my phone playing a game. I would just rather be on my screen.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that's not at all what is being talked about right now, but no. I just need to understand. Switch 2. I'm almost certainly going to be too expensive for what I want. I'm still really enjoying my Switch. Frankly, I use my Switch to play games that I don't want to play on my TV screen, and I don't want to play on my phone screen. This is the Slay the Spires of the world. This is Balatro. This is the games that require very little processing, but I want to have, I want Joy-Cons. I want, sticks and buttons instead of just, a touch screen that is my phone. And so, the Switch is the perfect... in between of those things that allows me to not hate myself on airplanes, for example. And so that's what the Switch has always been to me, and I'm still getting a lot of mileage out of that. So the Switch 2, I mean, I will agree with you, Eric, as far as the fact that I don't like playing Breath of the Wild mobile. I would much rather have my Switch be plugged into the screen so I can play a proper third-person RPG-style game that, frankly, I'd much rather be holding my PS5 controller, of course, rather than, even this Switch Pro controller, but that's just not possible, right? And so, for now, I like my Switch. You can't really entice me with a new Mario Kart game. The only thing that you're going to get me with is going to be a new Super Smash Bros. If that is a Switch 2 exclusive, that will be very hard for me to pass up personally. I love those games. I have a show that's called Super Freaking Bracket Bros, So, I those games are near and dear to my heart. So, that might get me. Mario Kart, nah. I can hold off on that.
I'm going to totally derail this episode for a second because I want to talk about it. The movie is not out yet. We haven't seen it. Do you guys there are 2 post-credit scenes in Sonic 3. Do you think one of them is setting up a Super Smash Brothers movie?
is this confirmed yet or no?
No,
or
not
you,
at all.
Oh,
not at all.
Okay.
People are clamoring for it. The Mario movie's good. Sonic obviously doing very well. Come on, we need it.
I'm here for it. Why the fuck not? You know, like these movies are already just like pure nostalgic fun for me personally. Like I'm not looking for anything, so why not?
Yeah. As of right now, I believe it's already been announced that a Sonic 4 is in development. Yep. So, I mean, the franchise is going to continue.
How many more characters? How many more hedgehogs are there left?
I don't know, and that's
all
kind
that I
of
know. After this,
no,
I'm tapped out of hedgehogs.
And then to transition to your question, I do wonder how much more they're going to be able to possibly explore without, especially with like keeping the humans and being in like the real world. Like I think we can leave that now. I like Super Mario Bros. There's no live action aspect to it. I think you could take Sonic completely into animation or that CG, and you could do movies like that moving forward where now you can bring in other characters into the movie, then spiraling into a Super Smash Bros. Film. I think it's long overdue, and again, if they can just all play nice, it's absolutely possible.
Detective
Pikachu. Listen,
so that seems to be on ice, unfortunately, but still a good movie.
It's all easy. It's all easy. Just do what we want. We'll give you the money. But the studios just haven't figured that out. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, but to go back to the Switch 2, also my Steam refund request was denied. To go back to the Switch 2. So that's
this episode.
2
also, this episode drops after Sonic too, so we're gonna have to come back and
come back and see what happens. So. Yeah, but back to the Switch 2. There are two things that would make me get it. One, if we get a new Pokemon game that's good. I'll say three things. A Pokemon game that's good, which I don't have any faith that they'll be able to do that. If you let me fucking download Heart Gold and Soul Silver on the damn thing, maybe I would consider going back and getting it. And also, I would totally buy a Switch for Animal Crossing. If you launched a new Animal Crossing game, which I don't think that they will do anytime soon, because New Horizons is still relatively new. I mean, we're talking about like pandemic days, so 4 years old, but that would make me jump into it as well. But just like Eric, I don't really have. They're certainly not a Mario Kart game. I'm absolutely terrible at Super Smash Bros. So that's not going to be it. I hate Mario Party. I'm not going to play that either. And I think a big thing with the Switch is like instances like Mario Kart, like Mario Party. It's a good console to have when people are over. But Eric, when we have game nights, we play other games. We're not playing games that are on this. We'll play like You Don't Know Jack. You can do that on your freaking Fire Stick. You don't even need a console for that anymore. So we'll play that, or we'll play board games. So there's nothing that's been on the Switch that would entice us to, have people over, say, hey, let's come over and play this game. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And again, I think it just depends on the type of gamer. Like, Jay rattled off a couple of games that I haven't played that, handheld would make sense. Like Balatro makes a lot of sense if I was to ever play that. I am interested to play it. Will I? I don't know, but yeah, probably. Or you both immediately just shot me down.
I like Jim looked office style into the camera.
That was crazy.
Eric, I listened to your 2024 Insight episode or like Foresight episode today, and the amount of games you said you might play is unfathomable. Eric,
I was interested in a lot of games.
How many of those did he actually play?
No, you are a fake gamer. You pretend.
Wow.
you say...
I called Astrobot as the game of the year. Shows me some fucking respect here. Are you fucking kidding me?
You called
the
Ratchet
trailer came out, and I literally shouted off the rooftops that it was going to be game of the year. You know what? You're in last place, both of you, in the Fantasy Critic game. Shut up.
Don't let me in with him. I am doing marginally better.
All right, so Jay, would you like to talk about Spirit of the Samurai? Would you like to have the discussion?
No, I watched 30 seconds of a trailer, and I said, yeah, this is the last game on my roster for me.
I looked at one still image, I believe, and that same trailer, and I was like, nah, this is...
I think there's a game
good
coming
shot.
out. Hold on, let me see.
There's a good shot. It is crazy that Elden Ring was like a shoo-in for highest scored game, and Astrobot beat it by 1. So I'm just saying, some respect would be
I'm
appreciated.
going to put in a bid for the Midnight Crimes. It comes out tomorrow.
Do it. Beat Jay. Put Jay in
I'm going
last
to bid
place,
$50,
please.
all the rest of my money.
Yes. So games that I played this year that like maybe I would have played if it was available or is available on the Switch. So Pal World would have been an example. Helldivers 2, but like I don't think I'd ever want to play that on a smaller screen than what I play now. So that's definitely not going to work. EA College Football, that wouldn't have been, even if it was available, not one that I would have done. And then any of the games that we've played recently, like even Marvel Rivals, like I wouldn't want to play like a multiplayer game on it. So I just don't think I'm playing a lot of the games in that catalog. A lot of games that I'll play are either multiplayer or story-driven narratives. And for me, I'll never really feel comfortable just sitting on the couch. I almost have to be uncomfortable to play the game. Like, we were talking about this, I got this gaming chair, and I still don't quite know how to sit in it, because I have to be, like, in it. I have to be in it. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe fake gamer stuff going on here, but that's just how I am. I gotta really feel like I'm, like, invested. And I don't feel like I can do that with my feet up on the couch playing the Switch.
My God. There's this wonderful thing called therapy, Eric. Have you considered it? Because my God, you can't play a game. You can't truly be invested in a leisure activity unless you're some degree of uncomfortable. My God.
Yeah, no. If I'm not completely unhinged and just like if I'm not completely trying to break my body, it's not a good time.
On the opposite side, I got a gaming chair in 2024, and it was so comfortable. I went out and bought a normal office chair at IKEA that has great back support because I am old and in my mid-30s, so I needed a good chair. So maybe you should just invest in a really comfortable chair, Eric, instead of just getting the gaming chair, because you felt like it had to go with the PC.
Yeah, no. I mean, I definitely lean into it, but it's just like unnatural to me. But yeah, I've got a bunch of games too. We got a lot of games still to talk about, and we'll see how a lot of these are probably not going to play. So I'll just call that out now. But yeah. Let's get into some more games here.
Well, I have. I'll throw out two that I have on my list because we'll see if the other ones come up between the two of y'all. One that I am. This is another cautiously optimistic Marvel thing. Rise of Hydra, Marvel 1943. We've only seen cutscenes for this game. The synopsis of it, very interesting. Sounds like you're going to play as 4 different players. Eric, you know I banged the drum for the Square Enix Guardians of the Galaxy game. It is so good, and unfortunately it had Marvel Avengers stink all over it, which is not fair to the game, but like, you know, it is what it is. And then now maybe because of Marvel Rivals, the Marvel Games portion of the universe will have a little bit more grace. But if this thing turns out to be really good, and you know, with characters that are very interesting and a story that is very interesting, I'll be very, very excited. And then what we teased a little bit earlier, Jay, it would be interesting to see if my prediction or my wish from earlier, if Jurassic World Rebirth is pushed, what does that mean for Jurassic World Evolution 3? We already know that the game is in the works. They haven't come out and said it, but whenever you look at like their fiscal meetings and stuff like that, Jurassic World Evolution is their highest moneymaker in terms of the game and also the DLC and everything like that. Jurassic World Evolution 2 support has ended, so we know that they're working on a new game. What does that mean if the movie is pushed? Do they maybe want something to be out there to bring in some cash? That would probably be a pretty safe bet. And then Jurassic Park Survival. Also have not seen any gameplay. I mean, there is quote-unquote gameplay footage in the trailer. We know what's going on here. You don't have to lie to us. I think we talked about Jurassic World Survival in last year's Foresight episode, if I'm remembering it correctly, and we still haven't seen any other trailers for that game. So yeah, Rise of Hydra. What do you guys know about that, Jay? I'll throw it to you first, and then also, do you think Jurassic World Evolution 3 would still come out if there were any delays when it comes to the Jurassic World movie?
I don't know much about Rise of Hydra at all. It's sort of, I know that it exists. Basically, that is it. So I'll focus this on Jurassic World Evolution 3. You know, I would love another return to this series. I mean, just I love Jurassic Park Operation Genesis back in the day, and these games, you know, just give a little bit of that back into my life, and I appreciate that a lot. I hope, honestly, it makes me hope for a movie delay, because then they can delay the game and actually take their time with it, because at this point, I don't really know what you could have done in the last 2 years to truly iterate, truly make a sequel, because between 1 and 2, they just sort of, I don't want to say they did the bare minimum of expectations of a sequel, but that's kind of what it felt like. You know, they did a lot of things I thought should have been in the first one based off of the movies that we had gotten already. And so I don't need it to be a Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster. I don't want it to be. I want it to be more straightforward. I want to make my.
Please don't make it like Planet Zoo.
Please, no. I just, which I don't think they will, because this is their best-selling franchise, because of the IP, and so I think they will continue to make it more straightforward. But I hope that they either like come up with interesting things to do with the park sim side of it that actually like some options for those of us that want a more strategic element to it, to be invested in the game. Yeah, so we shall see. But yeah, I think movie gets delayed. I think the game will get delayed. I think it's too much of a miss. And I'm assuming there are going to be quote unquote campaign / story elements of the game that do coincide with the movie. Just like they have for the last 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you there in terms of JWE2. Could have been a $30 expansion to Jurassic World Evolution 1. But that's, the numbers speak for themselves in terms of that game. They have gotten better. They've definitely made incredible quality of life improvements. And then now, of course, the modding community doing amazing things and keeping that game around. But Eric, I know you're not a big park sim guy, but I know like back in the day you would dabble in the Planet Coasters, Roller Coaster Tycoon, stuff like that. So do you want to add in any thoughts to a new Jurassic World Evolution game? Of course, you do have the gaming PC now, so that is probably the best way to play the game. And then also when it comes to Rise of Hydra, in the Marvel games, like I said, you know how much I love the Guardians of the Galaxy games. So maybe they've turned a corner in terms of these Marvel video games.
Yeah, so that turn in my gaming happened a long time ago, where again, like the park simulators was a lot of fun. I just never really went back to it. Back to the Switch conversation, that's one I could see you propping your feet up, playing very casually. So nothing in my radar. I'll say the Jurassic Park game that I'll bring up is Jurassic Park Survival, which did get a trailer this past year, and I don't know whether or not a 2025 release will happen, but I think that game could potentially be really good. I spent most of the time looking at the transcript last year so I could try to figure out how many games I said I was going to play, because Jay called it out. Because I've got a lot to bring up here. What I will say in return to the conversation, though, is Rise of Hydra looks really promising, but if there's even a chance Marvel's Wolverine comes out next year,
I forgot.
That's probably the Marvel property
I forgot about
I'm
that.
looking forward to the most. But
Yeah.
I don't know that either of those will come out. In fact, a lot of this list is undecided. So I feel like as we continue on into the gaming conversation, a lot of these may come up in the 2026 Foresight, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I remember they scrapped all Spider-Man 2 DLC after that leak, which sucked. So, Spider-Man 2, did that come out this year, or was that 2023?
End of 2023? Yeah, because it wasn't a part of the Game Awards this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was, and the more I look back on Spider-Man 2, it was fun, but a pretty disappointing sequel. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but, like, it was fine, right? Like,
for sure.
Looking back on it, it's a fine game, but it didn't hit any of the highs from the original game.
The argument can be made it was a flashier game, but I don't know that it was necessarily better story or gameplay wise than Miles Morales.
Yeah, I'm not really gonna fight you.
That's the point.
Yeah. Just the way that the first Spider-Man and Miles Morales made me feel in comparison to what Spider-Man 2 made me feel. I mean, you speed run the black suit stuff with Peter. There's just so much in it. There was so much, and then again, now we're not getting any payoff in terms of DLC. So, but yeah, that's a conversation. And I totally forgot about Wolverine. there are also leaks for that, unfortunately. So who knows when that game is going to come out. But Jay, what do you have on your list? What do you have circled for 2025 as we take notes as we are set to draft here in the next couple of weeks?
That's what I'm so afraid of. That's why I've got some. I'm like, do I mention these for the sake of the episode? I
have mostly mainstream stuff. I don't have any.
That's why I'm worried.
Bangers.
That's why I'm worried. Yeah.
No, I've got 4 games on my list here, and now in preparation for the Fantasy Critic, I'm deciding if I should reveal the entire list. So here's one that won't be on either of your lists that I'm excited for, but I think, quite frankly, will be a 7 out of 10. And I do mean that. I'm not just blowing smoke for you guys. Is Civilization 7, which is coming out in February. The Civ series, the 5th game came out when I was in high school, and the 6th game came out when I was in college, and these are world-building games where, you know, you build up your civilization, you go to war, you build your culture, you have your policies. It's a very it's not the most intensive sim out there, but it's the most popular. And I do love these games quite a bit. They always come out unfinished, and not necessarily in a way where there's lots of bugs or there's lots of glitches or things that don't work. It's just like, the last 2 games, there are major mechanics that they release a year later as DLC that should have been in the game day one. And so I don't think this is a game that I'm going to be spending a top 3 pick on in our Fantasy Critic League, but I'm looking forward to buying it in a year, in 2026, when it is actually complete with the DLC. That is what I'll say about Civ 7. I'm also looking forward to a game that we cannot pick up, so I feel no hesitation about bringing it up, but I'm looking forward to the full release of Hades 2. Hades 2, I have not played in early access, which it came out in 2024. I've heard nothing but immaculate things about it, and it has been very hard to resist the temptation of buying it on Steam when it's a game I would much like to play on the Switch. And so the last game that I will mention here, which is the most mainstream game, which I think we can have an interesting conversation about, is the Ghost of Tsushima sequel, spin-off. It's totally the same. Sucker Punch is still making it, but it's a totally different time period, different protagonist, different story. Ghost of Yotei, I think is how you pronounce it.
Yotei, yeah.
Yotei. I loved Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima. I loved the story that they were told, but in particular, I just love this world that they made in Tsushima. It just was just incredible to explore and get lost in. I loved every second of being in that world. The combat was incredible, and so I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they iterate on that. How do they top that? And I think that I do believe that they can. And so if this game actually comes out in 2025, which it is currently set to, I'm looking forward to it a lot. I don't know about you guys.
Ghost of Tsushima, well, that's a game we covered in 2024. Eric played it for the first time. Mm-hmm. Ghost of Tsushima.
A game I played. Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Congratulations.
4-year-old.
I played a lot of games
4-year-old
this year.
game.
It's really annoying.
4-year-old. But Ghost of Tsushima, looking back at it, and then also going back and playing it again in the PS5, the remastered version, or the director's cut, whatever it was called, honestly could be one of the most visually stunning experiences ever. Even on the PS4, it's funny that there's this conversation about even on the PS4, people are talking about the PS4 like it was a potato. But it's a great console. It's an outstanding console. So people are like, how did Last of Us Part 2 run in the PS4? What do you mean? It's a really good console. Anyway, but yeah, Ghost of Tsushima was such an incredible experience. I have all the expectation in the world that they'll be able to at least reach the same heights, if not do better. So yeah, very much excited for that. Civilization is a game, Eric, I don't know if you have any experience in the Civ series, but it's always something that I've circled as something I should maybe give it a shot. But I've always been intimidated by what the gameplay is and just learning how the ins and outs of the game. So like for a newcomer, Jay, is there an easy way to do so if I was like somebody that was interested in trying out a Civilization game?
Yeah, so I would suggest I started with 5. I know a lot of people will say 4 is where the series like elevated itself, but you can get 5 and all of the DLC for less than $20 at the very most, and that is a lot of content. You
$10.
have so many.
It's on sale.
Yeah, exactly. You have so many factions that you can pick from any part of the world, any leader that you want, that you're interested in, and honestly, I would say that $10 is worth it just to like give it a try, just to like go through the tutorial. And there's a very bad multiplayer element to it too that you can play with your friends if you're into that kind of thing. But yeah, Civ 5, because it's going to be so cheap. I would give Civ 5 a try, and because Civ 6 is if you like Civ 5, Civ 6 is lighter. It's a little less complex in the sort of nitty-gritty areas, the maths of the game, and so I think if you like 5, you'll like 6, and 7, of course, is yet to be determined.
Eric, are these games that you've ever looked into, or did you ever play any of them? Because some of them have released on console, right? As far as the Civilization games, yeah.
Yeah, console's not always the most fun experience for those, so since I've been away from PC gaming, which again, I did a lot of that on my computer, not like a gaming PC, just a regular old computer that didn't run very well, but I tried, and I had fun. It's interesting to hear your interest in this, considering you, like, loathe the idea of playing Baldur's Gate, like any type of turn-based strategy game. Really interesting change of heart there, but I used to play Civilization very, very early on. I was a big Command and Conquer guy. Command and Conquer was my jam. Some real-time strategy there. Really love that. Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds and some other Star Wars versions of like Age of Empires. Basically the same game. I never played Age of Empires, but adjacent. So there were a lot of those games when I was younger that I liked to play, and now that I have a PC, I'm very interested to get back into some of those games. So yeah, very interested.
Eric, I didn't know you were a Command & Conquer fan.
Yeah, Command & Conquer was my shit.
Oh.
That was, Command & Conquer. That's on my wish list, actually. I told you, Phil, I had a bunch of random-ass games. Like the whole Command & Conquer backlog of games on Steam.
I
think it's like $20. Well, I might do it.
They just added those this year. They've had them a few over the last years, but they just went back and like added like the second like Red Alert 2, Tiberian Sun.
Tiberian Sun.
Tiberian Sun was absolutely incredible. That was my first Command & Conquer game. Like I jammed to that so much. And so yeah, did you? And then they just added Generals too. I don't know if you ever played 0 Hour.
That's around the time I fell off, because I do remember Tiberium Wars.
Yeah, do you remember Kane's
and
Wrath?
Red Alert 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was actually, no, Generals was a little bit before that. I must have missed it, though. But yeah, I fell off right around Tiberium Wars and Red Alert 3.
Yeah, no, I still to this day will play the Kane's Wrath, which is the expansion to Tiberium Wars. Yeah. We play that to this day. And so... If you ever want to give it a go, I know the best.
Say less.
Yeah, like
say less. I'm so excited. I'm so fucking excited. But yeah, that's and going back to the like Roller Coaster Tycoon days and all of that. Like if I'm ever gonna play a Jurassic World Evolution, it's gonna be now. So like there's a little window here, but yeah, a lot of great memories with that franchise, and Civilization is another one again that I'm so far removed from, but it's always had such good memories as far as how many hours I put in when I was younger.
Yeah, for sure. Eric, did you have any to add here in terms of on your list? I have one or two more that are like more mainstream that I haven't heard yet, so I'm interested to see if maybe they're on your list.
Yeah, I've got a handful here. So if you want to take those away, I'm sure one of these is on your list because a game that you drafted this year did not come out this year.
Oh, Avowed. What's that game even about? All I know is I drafted it for you. Is there dragons in it?
It was basically you got convinced because it was a combination of like Skyrim and like another game.
Oh yeah,
another game. I forgot what it was, but yeah. Sounds like you're not drafting that again. So I don't know.
Maybe I just don't. I mean, listen. Remember, like while we were drafting, it was like 9 games I'd never heard of. So I was like, sure, I'll take this one. So I really didn't know too much about it. And I counterpicked it
just because I really was sure it was not going to release this year. So that was a good call on my part. But yeah, February 18th, Avowed. I mean, people are excited about it. Elder Scrolls-ish is the potential there. But that also wasn't your jam either.
No. The ones that I have here that haven't been mentioned yet are Gears of War E-Day. If people are upset with for some reason they don't like the new characters, hey, you know what? Let's just go back in time and bring back the characters you know and love. Gears of War 5 is a very, very good game, so I have all the confidence that E-Day will still be good. And then Mafia: The Old Country. I have an affinity for the Mafia series. They've been kind of up and down. Mafia 3 definitely was very disappointing, but going back to this game and this world is very, very appealing to me, especially since I have circled. This is kind of like getting a little off topic, but I have circled The Sopranos as a show I want to watch in 2025 for the first time, and starting The Penguin has really put me in this like mafioso mindset. So like, what better time than 2025?
Add that to our list because I've also been interested in seeing The Sopranos
today, and they had like the first 4 seasons of the Sopranos on Blu-ray, and I almost bought them just to have as a collector's piece. But no, we can totally add it. I've been wanting to watch The Sopranos for years.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna put that on the list because I've been interested for
that
quite
and
a bit.
The Wire. Those are the 2 I've been really wanting to watch.
Yeah, The Wire I've heard good things about. Yeah. Fun fact before I get into my games, each year the Foresight episode has gone longer, so we're continuing that trend.
I'm glad
but a lot to talk about. Yeah, lots to talk about here. A couple games I'm going to throw out there. Again, all or none of these games. Really, I'm confident about the first 2, but the rest of these may not even come out. So I'm going to start off with Phantom Blade Zero, which I mentioned, I believe, in the Fantasy Critic update that we did mid-year. Did not come out this year, so it's a very good contender for 2025. So a game I'm looking at not only for the fantasy draft, but also in general. A lot of good things coming out of that. South of Midnight is a game I've seen some gameplay on that looks interesting. This is another one of those kind of risk-taking games where it could either be really good and a nice hidden gem for the year, or it could just be one of those 7 or 6 out of 10 games that fall under the radar. The other games that I'm excited about, if they come out with Fable, Phil knows I'm a big fan of that franchise from my days on the Xbox. Fable 2 specifically, a game that I hold very near and dear. I don't know if it will come out, but if it does, I think that'll be a big game. There's also a Elden Ring game that was announced at the Game Awards, Night Rain. And Phil and everybody in the world at this point knows I do want to play Elden Ring. I really do. I'm just so hesitant. Co-op would fix that. If I had a group of people that wanted to play, that could play easily, I do believe you can do some type of co-op, but I've heard it's not as simple for like Elden Ring. So that aside, what this could potentially offer from a multiplayer perspective, I think would be great to try. And it seems like it might be an opportunity. And the last thing I'm going to call out is a untitled backyard sports game. No clue if this is going to come out. It's untitled. We don't even know it. But
there's a backyard
I've been
baseball
a big
game
fan.
coming out in 2025.
Yeah,
it's got
backyard baseball, backyard football.
It's got an
Give
Instagram
me Pedro
page
every time. So
it's
game
coming
I'm
out.
excited for.
A backyard baseball game's coming out in 2025. It's got an Instagram page. They started like teasing stuff in 2024. And yeah, that randomly came up my algorithm. So I know I have been keeping up with the backyard.
Another game I sunk a lot of hours into.
We didn't even, I forgot the name of it, but from the creators of Rocket League, that soccer game looks kind of fun. The 5-on-5 soccer game that the Rocket League developers are coming out with. People are like, this is like Rocket League without the cars. And I'm like, soccer? you mean soccer, my guy? But that one could be fun. The only issue is that we'd probably have to play with extra people because it's 5-on-5, and I don't know how that would go. I am terrible at Rocket League, so
Yeah, it's called Rematch.
Yeah,
That's
Rematch,
interesting.
there you
I
go.
did not hear about this.
yeah, it was at the Game Awards, I think. Yeah, so could be fun. I'm sure. Well, soccer, I'm better at. I don't have to fly in the air like I do in Rocket League. I play Rocket League purely for the vibes. I am in the way, and I usually don't help.
We can play that Captain Tsubasa game that we bought for $10 that we played
No,
like
that's
once. Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, do you guys, either of you guys, have any thoughts on any of those games that I rattled off? And yeah, that's it for me.
If Fable comes out, great. I just don't think it's going to. And I don't know that we'll ever see another Fable game again, because how many years now have they been like, because they canceled a Fable game at one point, right? And then now there's a new Fable. So, yeah, we'll see. Don't really know too much about South of Midnight. I did Google it at one point, so I guess I was looking into it, because it did pop up on my Google search history, but yeah, not too much there. Jay, anything you want to add on as far as either other games or anything that Eric mentioned?
No, I don't think so. I feel like we've pretty well covered video games. Yeah, no, I not a ton personally that I'm looking forward to in the video game sphere, except now going back and playing a 15-year-old Command and Conquer game with Eric later. So that's about it. All that's on my radar right now. It's literally all I can think about.
I'm literally on Steam right now looking, because I'm like so excited for this.
Yeah.
I cannot express it enough. It is, where is it currently? It's not on my wish list now, so now I need to go find it. Hold, please.
Well, there we have it. We'll move to the final section of this episode as we wrap up with this just other in terms of anything that is happening in 2025, whether it be in the world of music, science, entertainment, anything like that. Derek, I know you said you probably didn't have too much to add here, so I'll throw it to Jay first. Anything that you circled that was outside of the scope of, pop culture that you're looking forward to in the year 2025?
Yeah, so I'll say, kind of transitioning from my last statement, like not a lot of video games that I'm looking forward to, but I do have two major areas in gaming that I'm looking forward to. This year, I've managed to get myself into Magic the Gathering, the popular TCG, unlike Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is in a terrible modern state right now, and I was watching videos, a game from my childhood that I'm probably most attached to, gameplay-wise, is just unrecognizable to me today. And then Pokemon the TCG appears to just be a collector's game from the outside perspective, so I didn't really have much interest in that, and so my dad played Magic the Gathering when he was much younger, and he'd always talked about it fondly, but he had to sell his cards when I was growing up to make ends meet, and so last year I bought him some Magic cards for Christmas, and from then we've been getting back into the game. Me for the first time, him back into it, and it's just been such a joy learning the mechanics of a new game that I've never played before, and diving into, and it's been a great year to do so. A set came out this year called Foundations, which really allowed me to sort of start from the beginning and learn the game really well. And they're coming out with products at an alarming clip that a lot of the current members of the Magic community are alarmed at, but I'm excited for as someone who has not been playing Magic for the last 20 to 30 years. So this year we're getting a Final Fantasy set in Magic. We are getting a Spider-Man set, just not Marvel. We are getting a Spider-Man set exclusively, which is really cool. There are a couple remastered of old sets that were very popular. Innistrad remastered, which I'm looking forward to, which is all vampires. There's a space set in August that's coming out, and then there's Aetherdrift, which is just Magic plus cars. It's this grand race through multiple planes of existence that sounds really cool, and all of it's new and exciting to me. I'm part of the subreddit, and they're all being curmudgeons about it, but I'm excited. I'm excited for Magic in 2025 as a newcomer to the game, and collecting and just getting into the game pieces, and that's why I like playing the actual game. And Phil, you'll enjoy this, but I don't know if you know this, but there was a Jurassic Park World set that came out for Magic the Gathering. Yeah, and,
I didn't know. That's cool.
Yeah, and I that was kind of what triggered my interest in it. That was back in 2023 I learned about that, and I just built a deck based around the Indominus Rex, which is very exciting. I haven't gotten to play with it yet, but I'm very much looking forward to it. So Magic is something I'm looking forward to in 2025. I don't know if either of you have ever touched or even gotten close to Magic the Gathering.
No, just friends that have been in my group, my friend group, that have very much been into it. Not so much anymore, but yeah, glad to hear that TCG is in a good space. That you bring up Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, Eric and I obviously go to a lot of conventions, and if you ask a lot of people in terms of what communities they're staying away from, Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty much at the top of the list, next to My Hero Academia. So, unfortunately, those two things exist in a similar space, which is a real bummer. But yeah, that's really great. Again, to hear as far as like TCGs in general are at a pretty healthy spot. You did see me hold up. Like, I have replaced my sports gambling with Pokemon card collecting. These are all misses from the last couple of weeks. And but the difference is, at least I get something to tangibly hold on to in terms of collecting something, as opposed to sports betting, where that money is just gone. So
it just disappears into thin air. Yeah,
that has been a little bit better. I'm really excited. I read this book here in 2024 called Fantastic Land. The author is Mike Bachoven, and his next book comes out in 2025 called Come Knocking. It's going to be like a true crime style of story. So I really enjoyed the style of storytelling in this book. It was very, very good. So I'm very much looking forward to that. To kind of switch to concerts, Kendrick Lamar and SZA are going on tour in 2025. Will we be able to attend? That's up in the air. We'll see what happens. And then on a totally different spectrum, Avril Lavigne is touring with Simple Plan, and my 2004, 2005 emo heart can't handle it. And I'm very excited to check them out. They'll be here, Eric, in Daly's Place. So I definitely want to get tickets to that. And then, we threw out the idea when we all met for the annual Christmas special, holiday special, about maybe going to Dragon Con. Like, that's been a convention that we've always circled. But I think this would require a lot of planning, and it would have to be the right time. I think we should go to Epic Universe, because Epic Universe, Universal Studios, is opening in 2025. The reason I thought about it is because Jay brought up How to Train Your Dragon, and even though I'm not like a big ride person, I'm always up for a frozen butterbeer. Now that changed my life in 2024, and I think that would be a whole lot of fun to just go to Orlando. One, that's an easy place to find a lot of stuff to do. Obviously, Jay, we went there at the beginning of 2024. Or 2023. But Epic Universe would be a fun time, and even though I'm not going to ride many of those rides, because physically that'd be pretty bad for my heart, but I'm still going to go there strictly for the vibes and to have a butterbeer, and also, I don't know, hang out with Toothless, something like that. I think that'll be fun.
You could tell Phil don't go to no theme parks. This man said, let's go when Epic Universe fucking opens.
Oh, yeah,
like,
sure,
any of us peasants are going to go before 2027.
We're not going to be able to get in there.
You said we could go to Dragon Con, a couple bucks for a ticket, or we could spend thousands of dollars per person to maybe get in for a day. Crazy.
How much do you think a ticket's going to cost to Epic Universe?
Just the ticket is going to be hundreds of dollars,
that's
and then that's not including the food. You gotta buy merch.
Okay,
who knows what else?
You don't have to buy merch.
Okay, you see a lifelike Toothless, and you have to make that decision. You see what happens.
We just talked about how the How to Train Your Dragon movie looks bad. I don't want a lifelike. I want big galaxy eyes, Toothless. That's the one that I'll buy.
You're gonna walk out with a gecko that looks like Toothless and put it in.
There are geckos
with your
that
other
look like Toothless. They are called.
There we go.
Dragon. Hold on.
Click.
Damn it, because I looked into getting one in 2024.
That's what I'm talking about. So again, my point is proven. For sure.
Nope, that's not it. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Can you pronounce it?
none of these are giving me the name. I'm just showing the picture. Just give me the name.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, I feel. No, that is Epic Universe is going to be exciting.
Red-eyed crocodile skink.
That doesn't even sound.
Yep.
You made that up.
No.
So yeah, no, I'm also excited for Epic Universe though. I'm not going to be able to go. No person that we know is going to get to go. It's going to be a nightmare. So yeah, when we'll be able to enjoy that, I don't know, but I am excited for just to hear about the opening and everything that comes along with it. Honestly, that was really the only thing on my list outside of, again, we talked about the WWE Netflix deal, which is going to be exciting. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of covered all of mine. Jay, any reaction to any of the things Phil said?
No, it does sound like he made that last thing up, but I'm receiving some correspondence that may indicate otherwise. This does not look anything like Toothless, my God.
No, it just looks like a dragon.
Marginally, at best. I don't think that's true.
They're expensive and they're very shy, so you basically
so you don't even get to look
paying
at
for
it.
a pet that you never get to see.
My God.
I have looked into it though.
I'm glad I don't have to ward you off of every single bad I purchase that comes
If
across
only
your
someone
mind.
told me
my
not
life.
to get Prehistoric Planet.
I told you so many times this year.
If only someone had just been like, you already knew Planet Zoo wasn't your jam. You're not gonna like Prehistoric Planet. How
Phil,
many hours do I have on Planet Zoo? Let me see.
I don't know, Eric, if Phil's ever done this
4
to you,
hours.
but for whatever reason, lately he has designated me as like his Steam angel. Like whenever there's a sale that comes across his little brain, that he's like, I need to buy this thing, and then he'll message me, be like, do I need to buy this, Jay? And I say no every single time.
Because you're the
And
one
then-
that sent me the article about having
then-
like thousands of games that you never played in the Steam library.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes.
Then there was one time I took 37 minutes to respond to him, and he bought the damn game. And then
it's your fault.
No.
And then it's your damn fault because you didn't answer in time. I know how the game works.
Absolutely insane.
No.
Insane.
No, welcome to my. This has been over a decade. How long, Phil?
I got
Are we getting
80
close
hours
to 2 decades?
in Card Shop Simulator.
This is what I'm dealing with. This is it.
That's 2 weeks worth of work. You know what made me stop playing that too is I modded the shit out of it, so like there was no challenge anymore. So it was like unlimited
That's
money,
weird.
and I was like, this isn't as fun anymore.
Crazy.
Also, the Pokemon mod got shut down, so that also had something to do with it. So.
That's it. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, gentlemen, it sounds like we covered everything here. And what, like you said, Eric, these episodes get longer and longer, but as there are more and more things coming out every single year, it's just going to take more time to cover everything. But Jay, I know you mentioned, obviously you were very busy in 2024, but there is still a whole library and more episodes to come of Super Bracket Bros in 2025 and beyond. We hope, unless you're going to make some really sad announcement here today. Please don't do so. Do that on your own time. Don't do that here. Please let everybody know where they can find Super Bracket Bros, as well as any other projects that you're going to be working on in the future.
Yeah, no, that'd be pretty wild. I just post on Instagram, hey, go listen to this episode of the Wait For It podcast to hear about the end of Super Bracket Bros.
Hey, Eric, can you
over
can you
2
send
hours
me
in.
that video clip, please?
Nope. No, that's crazy.
Super Bracket Bros is the show that I do still currently do. If you go look at the feed, I have not posted a lot in the year 2024. But in 2025, I'm hoping to make that change, hoping to start a new season, and greatly looking forward to it. If you haven't heard of Super Bracket Bros before at this point, because we haven't been very active lately, we take fictional characters from different universes and decide who would win in a fight. We've had some great stuff in the backlog. Season 3 was all melee fighters. Season 4 was your gun fu fighters, and season 5 was all your favorite kaijus all in one bracket together. And Phil and Eric have both been on the show many, many, many times. So if you go back and just search for their names, then you're bound to find, because their names are in the episode titles that they're in, so you can easily find the episodes that they're in if you want a great jumping off point, which I would always recommend whenever I come on and guest. But thank you to the both of you for having me on for this episode, even if it took you 4 years to bring me on. In particular, I still very much appreciate it. I will be taking the high road. Thank you. You're welcome. And I wish you all nothing but the best in 2025 on the Wait For It podcast.
He was on in April. We had him on for What Did I Miss? That's like crazy. The behavior here. There's like 3 episodes I guessed it on that haven't released yet. I should be mad at you. Are they ever going to see the light of day? The people want to know.
I think just you want to know. Nobody else listens to Super Bracket Bros.
That's a lie. I'm a patron, sir. I deserve answers. I want the truth.
Yeah, it's in production.
Oh my god.
It's going to release around the time Rebirth comes out.
Oh, that's great. Awesome.
Well, everything that Jay mentioned will be in the show notes of this episode, along with everything you need for the Wait For It podcast in 2025. We have so much planned. Obviously, we have a bunch of convention appearances, so we'll see you guys out there on the road. And Eric and I have a lot planned for this year, and we very much appreciate it, and we plan to continue to have Jay on, as well as the rest of the Super Bracket Bros cinematic universe, and just continue to have a good time. So if you want to keep up with that, make sure you click the Linktree link in the show notes of the episode. You'll find everything you need as far as the rest of our content, as well as social media pages. The most important ones to keep up with being Instagram, TikTok, for now, our growing Discord page, Twitch, as well as YouTube. If you want to support the show, you can share the content, both us as well as Super Bracket Bros. Tag us, let us know that you're listening, and head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave both shows 5-star reviews. Very, very helpful in terms of the algorithm, wibbly wobbly time machine stuff. Eric, but maybe sometimes people want a little bit extra from the Wait For It podcast, and you're like, oh, I have a way that you can get a little bit extra when it comes to behind-the-scenes stuff and extra content. So why don't you go ahead and let them know how they can find all of that.
Yeah, so of course all the free stuff is great, but if you want to go the extra mile with the Wait For It podcast, you can join our Patreon, where patrons like T3 Kato, Stefan, Breyer, Corey, and new patron Vintage Macaroni have joined us and are getting in return some bonus content, exclusive perks like behind-the-scenes access and early access to episodes like this, plus much, much more as we're planning into 2025. So join our growing community there for some exclusive perks, or keep doing what you're doing. Listening to the episode, liking, commenting, sharing, all of that jazz is very much appreciated. Take that energy and go over to Super Bracket Bros and do the same exact thing. They're a great show. We love having them on. And with all that being said, my name is Mr. Eric Almighty. That is my co-host, Phil the Filipino. And of course, our guest, Jay. And just remember, we release new episodes every Wednesday on the podcast, plus bonus content on other platforms like Twitch and TikTok for now. And all you got to do is wait for it.
So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.